I was lost and didn't know what to do. If I believe it or not, I'm not convinced of a single word you're saying. To me, it sounded like fantasy movies that I don't watch or believe in. Once, I woke up from my sleep in the middle of the night, and I found her sitting on the floor, crying. I thought maybe she fell while she was walking, or hit herself, or fell or something. But when I approached her to comfort her, she screamed in my face and kept bothering me. "Stay away from me and don't come near me. Stay away from me and don't come near me." Then I sat on the floor in front of her and looked at her in amazement. I didn't understand what had made her do this. We weren't like this. During the whole lecture, we were very much in agreement. I don't know what happened to her, and something like this happened to her. What made her talk to me about a fantasy she sees and hears? Sometimes you hear it, and when I try to reassure her and tell her that there is nothing from what you say, you shout and walk away from me in a few days. All I know about this story is that I'm tired and I can't continue, even though we've been married for a while now. Look, I'm going to tell you the story from the beginning, and I want you to put yourself in my shoes. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you. My name is Olivert James, and this is Narrator. This is a new episode, and it's full of real events. It's written by Olivert James, and it's long, and it has a lot of words and a lot of complications, but it's all going to be a source of shock and surprise for all of us. So let's listen to the end, because the TLT is coming. Before we start, make sure you like this video because it makes a difference. And make sure you check out the post I posted on the channel, which says that there will be a live broadcast in 2 days. I've prepared something for you to watch, so make sure you're there and know when the live broadcast is. Let's continue. I was sitting in my office as usual, and I was excited. I was excited about the body, which we found drowned between the rocks on the sea a while ago. This was after we received a report from some of the guys who go to the sea in this area, and they said they found a human arm between the rocks. And then the world turned upside down, and they found the body of a young man who was actually locked up in a nearby area, in the same place where they found the arm. The body had a disfigured look, and the rest of the body was swollen with water. It was very difficult to identify the owner of the body in this situation. But as a routine procedure, we returned all the missing reports, and we asked some of the people who reported the disappearance of their children to do a DNA test to confirm the identity of the body. Unfortunately, until now, we haven't been able to find anything. After that, there was nothing in the area where the young man drowned to prove his identity. At that time, there were 2 possibilities in front of me that he drowned. The first was that the young man was swimming normally in a different place, and he drowned for some reason, and the waves pulled him here between the rocks. The second possibility was that this person intended to commit suicide, and that's why he didn't have anything to prove his identity. Yes, the topic of suicide is very common among young people. They treat it as a magical solution to get rid of all their problems that they can't face. And then, this beach has been known for a long time that it is not ready to receive people who want to go to the sea. And that's why I was inclined to the idea that he intended to commit suicide. I mean, the conversation is not a coincidence. I kept thinking about the reason that could make a person end his life in this way. Maybe, for example, he was going through a story of a failed love, or a job that he was fired from. I don't know. But the feeling that a person insults himself and hurts himself is a terrifying feeling, and I have no justification for it. We don't have these souls to decide to get rid of them, as if we are taking revenge on those around us in ourselves. And in the midst of the crowd of thoughts and confusion in my mind, the office door rang, and the officer, Hamed, came in without noticing me. At that moment, I was surprised to see him sitting in front of me and shaking my hands. I got up and looked at him carefully, and he said to me, "What's wrong with you, Mohammed Bey? Come on, man. You're a newlywed, and you just got off work. You have the right to think about it. Stop it, Hamed. The one you're talking to is your sister. No, I was wrong about her. I'm telling you, she's a pain in the ass. But tell me the truth. Do you like her cooking, or haven't you tried it yet?" We've only been back for a few days, And you know that I'm at my mom's because the renovations they're doing in the building where our apartment is not finished. Yes, you told me. You're going to be amazed. But be patient with your livelihood. Are you afraid of her cooking? Or what? No, man. I'm just giving you a hint about what's waiting for you. Okay, just tell me. The medical report of the body of the young man we found, is it out yet? It's out. But what? Don't jump to conclusions and tell me what you have at once. Okay, man. This young man didn't drown or commit suicide, as you thought from the beginning. This young man was killed. He was killed? How? Well, man, as I'm telling you, he was specifically strangled. And after he suffocated and made sure he was dead, he got rid of the body and threw it in the sea. And of course, the seagulls pulled him to this area. And that's why there was no report of anyone drowning in this young man's description. Well, what about the excavations and emptying the cameras on the sea in the same area? I swear, there is no evidence of anything strange that happened at the time that Sharia medicine specifies the crime. Well, what about the work, Hamid? There is no work. This is an unknown body. We didn't investigate its identity. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. Or what do you think? Okay, I'm going to issue an order to bury the body. And most likely it will be supported against the unknown. Don't worry about it. God will take care of it. We don't have anything in our hands. Everything is in God's hands, Hamid. God is great, and the Great One has the rights. He doesn't want it. Exactly. Well, go ahead, Noura. Come and have dinner with us. Okay, when I go, I'll tell her. And if our conditions are good, I'll come, God willing. Okay, sir. I'm gonna fly to finish my work. Okay, Hamid. And if there's anything new, let me know. Okay, sir. Peace be upon you. After I said, peace be upon you, and left the office, I closed my eyes and tried to rest. But as usual, there is no peace in work. I endured other insults until the day was over. And by the end of the day, I went home to my mother, and I was devastated and separated. And as soon as I arrived, my wife greeted me and told me that I was invited to their house for dinner. May God forgive my mother, who took her out of Noura's mind, my wife, and my mother, who kept encouraging us to go. And indeed, I couldn't refuse their request. I changed my clothes, took a shower, and drank a cup of coffee, and went straight down. We had dinner, spent our evening, and went back home. My mother had dinner and slept. And despite her sleep, she woke up to make sure she had taken her medicine, and didn't forget as usual. And when I took care of her and gave her her medicine, I also went to sleep in our room. But when I changed my clothes, I asked Noura to do her math, so that tomorrow after work, I could take her and go to our apartment. We were a bit lucky. Before the wedding, on the day of the wedding, the mullahs decided to do some renovations in the building. And for that reason, we were kidnapped for 2 days in Sharma, and we went back to my mother until everything was fixed. She was happy, and the world was crying with joy when she found out that we were going to our apartment. I left her on the phone and slept because I was so tired, and I didn't feel anything but the morning. I heard the sound of my phone, and at the same time, Noura was calling me. Her voice was coming and going. I opened my eyes and closed them a few times, until I realized that she was sitting next to me, trying to wake me up. And as soon as I looked at her, she looked at me too, but in pain. Good morning, what's all this sleep? Come on, wake up so you don't be late for work. Your phone keeps ringing, and Hamid, wake me up so I can wake you up. Good morning, Noura, my love. I'm sorry, I was sleeping, and I didn't feel anything. Okay, get up now, and I'll make you a light breakfast with my Nescafe. Come on, so you don't be late. Okay, my love. And yes, don't forget that we're leaving today. I didn't forget, my love. But did you recognize me? Yes. I told her at night that we're leaving after I get back from work. Okay, great. And now, get up so you don't be late. Okay. Yes, what is it? She left the room to make me breakfast, and I got up, went to the bathroom, and took a quick shower, and I had breakfast and went to work. It was a long and very difficult day, but Hamid's presence creates a nice atmosphere, and we get it. Honestly, his blood is very light, and he feels that he has high blood sugar. I don't know how this is normal, but come on, don't worry. He's excellent at his job. And this is a confession of a confidant before he knew that Noura was his sister. By the way, Noura, my wife, has Hamid and Aliak, and they're her brothers, but not twins. In general, their relationship was excellent, and I never felt that Aunt Fatma, Hamid's mother, treats Noura as if she's her daughter. On the contrary, she treats her like Aliak, and maybe better. And that's why I call her Hamidi, and I consider her like my mother, without any exaggeration. Anyway, I finished my work and went to my mother's house. I greeted her and I took Noura and we went to our apartment. Finally, I will settle in my apartment, which I was tired of, and I got tired of preparing it. The building looked a little different because of the modifications they were making, and after we left, we arranged the things that were with us and Noura prepared dinner and we sat down to eat. It was a nice night until Noura woke me up from sleep and said to me, Mohammed, get up, Mohammed, wake up quickly. I got up from sleep and looked at her, and I said to her, Malek, what's wrong, my love? There's something in the closet. What's in the closet? I don't know, but there's something moving. Focus. Can't you hear the sound? I thought at the time that it might be a mouse that came in from the hallway or something. So I got up from the bed and got closer to the closet. I kept standing in front of it, completely silent, but there was no sound coming out of it. A minute or two passed, and the situation was still the same. Then I looked at Noura again and said to her, My daughter, there's no sound or anything here. Don't bother me, I want to sleep. Wait, let me stand where you are and I'll turn off Noura's flashlight and we'll hear if there's a sound or not. Okay, Grandma, turn off the light and let's get out of here. After she did that, nothing changed either, and I was at the end of it. But I kept standing and quiet for a few minutes, and then, without speaking, I got closer to the bed and put my body on the same side that I was sleeping on. I put on my blanket and slept, instead of something happening to me because of her madness in the middle of the night. But nothing happened. A few minutes passed and she was still going to sleep. Then I heard her scream, which scared me and made me wake up, and I stood on the bed. Hey, wake up. I told you there was something in the closet, and you didn't believe me. I heard the sound again. God forgive me, Lord. Defeat the devil, Noura, and come with me. Let's sleep in the mother of the night. Why don't you believe me? I'm telling you there's something in the closet. I got out of the bed and got closer to the closet. I opened it, and then I took a deep breath and said, No, there's nothing in here. Can you calm down and spend this night in peace? Well, look around in these shelves. Maybe there's something hidden in the clothes. That's it? That's not what I'm going to tell you about. At a glance, everything in the closet was down on the floor. Whether it was clothes, shelves, or anything else, everything was down on the floor. She was looking at me in amazement, and the signs of anger appeared on her face after she was afraid. She said to me, Are you crazy, Mohammed? What are you doing? I'm buying my comfort. Everything in the closet is down on the floor, and the closet in front of you is empty. There's nothing. Let the night go by, and you can rest because I want to rest. I told her these 2 words and looked around me actively, and put the clothes on the floor on my feet, and left her the room. I went out to sleep one day in the children's room, and threw myself on the bed, and went to sleep. I didn't wake up until the next morning, when I heard a knock on the door of the room. I looked around me, and tried to remember what had put me to sleep here. And with the knock that was repeated on the door, I got up, wiped my face, and opened the door that they had locked on me, so that I could sleep peacefully. And it was clear on her face that she didn't sleep, because she couldn't open her eyes. I told her not to sleep in this room because she was afraid and couldn't sleep there. But she didn't give me a chance. Noura turned her face and told me while she was walking that she wanted to have breakfast in the kitchen. I told her that she wouldn't have breakfast with me. She replied, No, I don't want to have breakfast alone. Noura, I wasn't. She entered the room, stood at the door, looked at me coldly, and then closed the door on my face without hearing what I said. Then I went to the bathroom, took a shower, and went out to have breakfast. I told her to come in, take my clothes from the closet, and then I was shocked by the shape of the room. I wasn't aware, and I didn't know what was going on. Noura was sleeping on the edge of the bed, and the cover was pulled on her. I got closer to the bed and told her, "I'm sorry, Noura. I'll see someone come and arrange these things. Don't bother yourself to arrange them." I kissed her head, and I thought that I would fix it. But then she gave me her back, and she continued her cold period. I looked at the floor and I found these men. I took their shirts and pants, put them on, and went to work. I finished my greetings and I called her. But of course, when she answered, I knew that she was still mad at me. So I had to invite her to have lunch outside as a try for reconciliation. But unfortunately, she refused and closed the phone on my face. I didn't understand what was going on. I tried to stay with her for a long time. It's not possible that we would have problems in the first few days we were together in our apartment. Because of all this, I bought her flowers and chocolates, and I tried to please her. Thank God, I got someone to arrange the closet. After what happened, a week passed. A week every day, she would wake me up in the middle of the night, and she would complain about the same situation. There is a voice coming from the closet, so much so that I doubted that she didn't like the room, and I wanted to change it. Because of her actions, I asked her calmly if I wanted to change it. But she didn't give me a positive answer. She kept talking to the voice she heard in the closet, and that's it. So I decided to sleep alone in this room for a day, and I let her sleep in the children's room so that I wouldn't get nervous. Thank God. The night passed very normally without hearing any movement in the closet. The next day when I woke up, she was waiting for me to tell her about what happened in the apartment. When I told her, I didn't hear anything strange. I didn't find any justification or explanation for everything she said about the voice in the closet. She gave in to reality and told me that maybe it's a sign of changing the place. But the signs won't repeat themselves. I'm afraid to go crazy. What if someone did something to us in the apartment? Oh, we're gonna start throwing everything like water and papers, work and all that. Look, Noura, you're a smart, educated, and aware person. So don't let your brain take you down this road. Because I don't believe in it at all, and we could seriously lose each other if you walk on it. Are you threatening me, Mohammed? No, darling. I understand your mental nature. It's impossible for me to let you follow this nonsense and stay on my back. I don't believe in this stuff and I won't allow my wife to do that. Okay, Mohammed, thank you. Your message has been received. And that's it. From this day on, from this moment on, our lives have turned 180 degrees. Noura has become someone else I don't know. She's strange to me in every way. We live in the same house, but each one of us is in his own room. Even the food is eaten by each one of us. Sometimes she doesn't even cook for me. I come home from work, and I don't hear from her. I don't hear any sound. And when I go in to check on her, I find her asleep, as if she were in a coma. She's been like this for a month, and I've been patient and quiet. One day, I called her from work, and I told her I'd get my mom to have lunch with me, and I'd be back from work. And when I said that, she answered me coldly and said, "Okay, but I'll eat with you from outside because I'm not gonna cook." I said that to myself, but unfortunately, I lost hope. Because as soon as I entered the house, I found her as if she were in a coma. And when I came in, my mom looked at me in amazement and said, "What's wrong, son? Why is your apartment like this? Noura is tired, and she can't clean it." "Yes, Mom. She's been like this for a few days, and she has a cold." "I'm sorry, but you can't clean it, and I brought you here to bother you." "Stop it, you idiot. This is my son's house. Even so, sit down and I'll find someone on the service app to clean the house. You're wasting your money on nothing." She called me and said, "Go to the bathroom and I'll see your wife and clean the apartment." "Okay, Mom." I smiled, but this time I feel regret. Did I hurry up when I got involved with Noura and I missed her? Is it possible that all this time you claim to be perfect and she's a perverted person like this? No, there must be something wrong. I took my shower and went to the bathroom. I found Noura and Mom in the kitchen. Noura was sitting on the chair and my mom was standing in front of the toilet. I completely ignored Noura and approached my mom and asked her, "What are you doing, my love? Get out of my way. Get out of my way. I'm your enemy." At that moment, my face turned, and I looked at Noura angrily. I didn't know how she turned on me. Mom. But then my mom called me and said, because the house is a little tired, get up and bring her the room and sleep in the children's room. Instead of taking your wife out of her tiredness, you leave her alone all night, and she's tired? What will you say to God? He will punish you for her, because she's a burden on your neck. Mom, you don't understand anything. Shut up. I can't hear you. Noura told me everything. What did she tell you? When I saw her in the room, I found her tired and unable to lift her head from the pillow, and her face was yellow. I pulled her out of the room, and when I came to see her, she told me, "How many days have you been sleeping in the children's room?" Because she's afraid that her role is corona, and she doesn't want to get rid of it. At that moment, I looked at Noura comfortably and reassured her that at least she didn't say that I'm tired and didn't say anything about what happened to me, to the closest people to me. Someone else could have taken advantage of the situation and put me in front of his mother. But thank God, today is a good day. But Noura, she wasn't Noura. She ate weak and would refuse if she heard any noise next to her, even if the spoon hit the floor. At the end of the day, I reached my mother and found Noura, as usual, locked herself in her room. I didn't know what to do. But no, it's impossible, no matter what happened, to follow the words of business and this nonsense. I grabbed my cell phone and called my friend Yasser, and Yasser is a psychiatrist. I asked him to meet me away from the restrooms, and I really talked to him at the same day at night, and I went downstairs to meet him. I told him everything that happened, and he was very understanding and asked me to bring Noura to him. But I knew that she would refuse, and it's impossible to do that, even on her watch. And because of that, we had to pretend to her. And pretending here doesn't mean pretending, it means lying. I agreed with Yasser that he would pretend to be a sheik, and that I would bring him to her on Friday. And after I dressed her, he took me to his house. Despite all my worries, Yasser was trying to pretend to be a sheik. He really laughed at me, and before I entered the house, I rang the doorbell, and I sent her a message on her cell phone that I have a stranger with me, because if I stay outside the room, it means, after a few minutes of waiting at the door, I opened the door and I entered with Yasser, and I went to tell her that I brought her a sheik, and that she should get ready to go out and see her. But while I was standing at the door, I heard her crying. She was crying in a strange way. I opened the door, and I was afraid of what might have happened to her. I found her sitting on the floor, between the bed and the wall, and she put her body in her hand, and her eyes were hanging on the door. I got closer to her, and her body was almost floating. I stood in front of her, and tried to calm her down, but she screamed at me, and attacked me and kept hitting me. Of course, I couldn't put my hand on her, because I didn't understand how she became like this. At this moment, Yasser entered the room, screaming, and he thought that I was hitting her. When he saw her trying to hit me, he ran to her and took her away from me. Then I got up from the floor, and I looked at my arm that was bleeding, and my clothes that were torn. When I was surprised by what happened, I was shocked when she told me with a cold smile that he was in the closet. He appeared to me, and I saw him. Yasser looked at me in shock, and I didn't realize that I still heard him from her. But Yasser spoke calmly and said to her, "Who is there, Noura?" I don't know, but he is a black shadow." The door of the closet opened while I was sleeping, and I was still awake. At the same time, I was sure of what I saw. When the door opened, a black shadow came out of the closet and disappeared. When I got close to the bed, I felt a heat all over my body, as if something was burning me. That's why I went down to the floor out of fear, and I was in pain. "Okay, calm down and tell me everything, and I will help you. I will help you get rid of all this, but only if you tell me." "What do you mean? Do you believe me and not curse me like him?" "No, of course I believe you. Can't you see how you look? Let's continue our conversation in the hall, while you, Mohammed, change your clothes and clean the wounds on your arm and follow us." No, I don't want him to follow us. If he stays with us, he won't talk or say anything." "Okay, go, Mohammed, make me a cup of coffee." "Okay, Sheikh Yasser." He came out of the room, and Noura looked at me from top to bottom. Her look, I can't forget it or explain it. I don't know if she was afraid of me, or upset or angry. I don't know. But when I cleaned the wound in my arm, I went into the kitchen, and I heard her telling him what was happening to her. She was crying and in a lot of pain. I felt at the time that he was oppressing her with me. I couldn't believe her and I couldn't solve her problem. Maybe Yasser, in the end, will know how to help me. Maybe, or I hope so, but whatever happens, I won't give up on her. And that's why I finished the coffee and went back to him. Then he grabbed the coffee, took 2 slices of it, and put it in his mouth. Inshallah, you will be better, Madam Noura. And as I told you, you have to pray and read the Quran. And I will spend a few more days with you and I will make it up to you with Muhammad. Inshallah. After that, I put the coffee on the table and he said to me, I invite you to come so that I can catch up with the far prayer. Yes, go ahead, Sheikh. Come, I will take you there. God bless you. Be very grateful. I took Yasser and we went down and we stood in front of the house. I looked at the room on the street and I found its window closed. I pulled him hard from his shoulder and I said to him, you always tell her to pray and read the Quran. What's wrong with that, Yasser? Instead of thinking about it, did you believe that you are a sheikh for real or what? Your wife is mentally ill and does not suffer from mental illness. And if you insist that there is something wrong with her, it will be just hearing and sight. And this can come with treatment. Okay, don't prescribe her treatment. It is not possible. You are at the beginning of your life. I want there to be a pregnancy. And this medicine is wrong for the pregnant woman. Yeah, and then what? Will I live in this delirium for a long time? Believe me, if it's a psychological issue. She calmed down a little when I sat with her and told her that I am a sheikh. And if the situation continues like this, then there is a problem and it must be addressed. It is not possible to lie to her and tell her that I am a sheikh and so on. The psychological patient must be aware of the nature of his illness in order to be treated. What am I supposed to do? What do I do in my life now? Wait a few days for her and go back to sleep with her in the same room. Don't leave her alone. Okay, fine. I will try to do this and God will make it easier for me. Okay. And if there is something new, let me know. Okay, Yasser. I'm sorry that I dragged you with me and got you involved in something like this. Son, stop being silly. Go to your wife and take care of her. I found her sitting in her place, not moving. Her look at me was fear. All I did then was to get close to her and kiss her head. And I asked her if she wanted to eat with me. She didn't answer me either, but she shook her head. That's why I went into the kitchen and prepared a light dinner for both of us. I made her her favorite burger sandwiches and we sat down to eat. When she finished eating, she went to the bathroom and then quietly pulled herself to the room. I went back to the kitchen and I was sleeping in the children's room, but I remembered Yasser's words. I closed my eyes and wiped my face and said to myself, it's only a few hours and you're going to work. You didn't bother them. Come to yourself and stay next to her. I knocked on the door of the room and went in. She was lying on the bed and looking towards the closet. She was surprised when she saw me. I tried to comfort her, but she looked at me in confusion and turned her face. I think I moved my body to the other side of the bed. I kept looking at the ceiling and I don't know when I went to sleep and how. All I know is that I woke up as usual to the sound of her scream. I was shocked and I was still going to annoy her. I found her standing in front of the wall and holding a knife and stabbing her, as if she was trying to kill her shadow. I got up quickly and tried to take it from her instead of hurting herself and took it away from her. But unfortunately, as soon as I told her, Noor, my love, take this knife from your hand. Do you remember what Sheikh Yasser said to me? She turned to me and took a few steps slowly. And once she picked up the knife and was going to bring it to my face. But my reaction was quick and I dodged the knife. At that time, I didn't feel myself and hit her. Yes, I admit that at that moment I was not conscious. Maybe this is the first time I put my hand on a woman in general. But she wants to hurt me and I defend myself. And how painful it was enough for them to sit on the floor crying and her eyes hanging in amazement. I fell on the floor, took the knife and took out my cell phone. I called Hamd, her brother, and asked him to come to the house immediately. Then she looked around me right and left in the room. And when I reassured her that there was nothing that could hurt her, I left her and went out and locked the room. After more than half an hour, the doorbell rang. Although I knew that Hamd was coming, but I didn't know how his face was in the closet. I opened the door, welcomed him, and we sat together in the reception. I kept looking at him quietly until he opened the door and said to me, "What's wrong? Why did you bring me to my face in the morning?" Noura did something to him. "Calm down so you understand what I'm going to say. Okay, say it, don't play with my nerves." Honestly, Noura, at that moment, we heard a knock coming from the bedroom door. Noura was calling Hamed and knocking on the door with her legs and hands. "Open the door, Hamed. Mohammed locked me in here and hit me a while ago." Hamed calmed down, stood up, and left me, and I told him to calm down. "Calm down and I'll explain everything to you, I swear." He got closer to the bedroom door and tried to open the door, and he really discovered that it was locked. Then he looked at me where he looked. He extended his hand and moved the key that was in the door and opened it for her. And as the door opened, she threw herself into his arms and began to cry. But he was standing helpless, and everything that was on his tongue at the time. "What did you do to her? Is this the trust she gave you? You do this to your sister? Well, I thought we were colleagues. The bread and salt that we ate together. Hamed, you don't understand anything. And I don't want to understand. When he came to my sister's house and locked her in the room, I didn't want to understand. Come on, Noura. Come on. Change your clothes and come with me. You can't stay with him for an hour. Hamed, stop being crazy. I brought you here to solve your sister's problem and make her understand. Don't make it worse. You don't have anything to say to me. From now on, he will forget everything that happened between us. Son, don't be hasty and understand. Come on, Noura, I'm done. And if I tell you, come here. The car is under the house. But I'll give you anything." And indeed, in the blink of an eye, he took her and left. I didn't know how to be happy and carry her from my shoulders. And the one who was upset because my house was being demolished, he still hasn't completed 2 months. All I did was lock myself up after he left, and I stayed in the apartment. And not an hour passed, and I found my mother calling me. I was expecting the scenario that would happen, and that's why I didn't answer her. But after a while, and to comfort myself, I hung up the phone, left him in the apartment, took the key to the car, and got out. I stayed all day in the street. I don't want to go home, nor can I go to work. It's not the same thing. The feeling of failure was in me to the extreme. And at 3:30 a.m., I was done. I got my brother. I went back to my apartment, opened my cell phone, and sent my mother a message that I reassured her about. And I told her that I couldn't talk right now. Then I found my legs and my pants in the room. I got closer to where she was sleeping, and I left my body in the same place. I wanted to close my eyes and open them. All that happened to me was just a nightmare, and it was over. And Nora was sleeping next to me, and we were fine together. But unfortunately, when I opened my eyes, I found the closet door opening and closing by itself. At first, I thought I was dreaming or something, so I adjusted in my seat and opened my eyes several times. At that time, I really found the closet door open, even though it was already closed when I entered the room. But how did this happen? And there was no one else in the apartment. And from here, suddenly, sleep flew out of my eyes. It flew out because it was the first time I felt this kind of fear. I tried to justify to myself that the situation I was in was a sense of guilt because I laid my hand on Nora. And this has never happened to me. And to calm my mother down, I made coffee. But suddenly, while I was holding the cup in my hand and entering the room, specifically while I was standing in front of the door, and I was still going to open it, I heard someone talking inside. What is this? There is no one else in the apartment. Well, it must be forbidden. I put the coffee on the floor and went into the kitchen. I took the knife and said, "Search the room because it will definitely be armed." And because of my suspicion, I understood at that time the wisdom of God in everything that happened. God wanted to fight with Nora and leave the house so that she would not live this moment. I put my hand on the closet door of the room, and I was still hearing the sound. But when I entered, I did not find anyone. I turned the room, and there was no trace of any creature. It was dark. But how? I still heard the sound. I was going crazy to the point that I was turning around myself and talking loudly. Who is here and what is happening? At that moment, I thought that maybe someone had put a speaker somewhere in the room, and all this to scare us or drive us crazy. But why? This is neither me nor my wife hurting anyone. But wait a second. There is a sound. I followed the sound until I reached the closet. The same place where Nora says that there is a loud noise coming out of it. I opened the closet, and there was a loud noise. It was next to Nora's clothes. And then I was shocked when I found her wedding dress. It had a big red drop on it. I approached the dress carefully, and as soon as I touched it, I heard a scream that made me faint, and I went back a few steps, and I was stunned. After that, I turned the closet to reach the source of the blood, but unfortunately, there was nothing there. I kept putting her dress in front of me and sitting on the floor, unable to raise my eyes from it. I believe in God, but I don't believe in the story of business and this atmosphere. But it turns out that in the end, it will turn out like this. I didn't know what to do. I was afraid to go to a job that had no end. And in the midst of all this, there was no other solution in front of me. I have to find someone to help me, but he has to be safe. Not one of those who play with eggs and stones. And it happened. I made a few words, and I sat there until they gave me a number. Raki Sherry, graduated from Al-Azhar, a man who all people thank for his morals and religion. I talked to him and told him everything that happened to me. Honestly, I was excited for any word he said. But what was strange to me was that he didn't say anything that could be wrong or wrong. And everything that happened to him was contrary to my expectations. In the end, he asked me to come and see the apartment, and then I took his address and went down to get him. And when we arrived at the apartment and entered the room, I got close to the dress and took it off to show him. But I was shocked when I didn't find any trace of the drop of blood. I was standing like a small child who couldn't explain what happened to her. But he was holding the dress in his hand, and he kept reading certain verses, and I found him, and then he told me, "There's something that looks like blood on it." No, there isn't. And I don't know where the blood went and how the drop disappeared. Okay, good. Don't worry. You have salt, of course. Yes, of course. In the kitchen. Okay. I would be grateful to you if you brought me some of it in a plate. I gave him the things he asked for, and then he took out a small glass from his pocket. As soon as he opened it, I knew it was musk from its smell. He put 2 drops of salt on it and mixed it with his hand, and then he read certain verses from the Quran. And when he finished, he took some of the salt in the musk and sprayed it inside the closet. And then he stood for a while to read out loud. He read different verses. And when he finished, he came closer to the closet and took some salt in his hand and threw it at him. But there was something strange in the closet, as if there was something trapped inside him and he couldn't get out. The sheik then smiled and kept reading and sprayed the salt on the closet with his hand. And suddenly, his eyes teared up, and he felt dizzy. And I found him telling me, "Hold this plate for me for a while." Then he came closer to the closet and started to remove the shawl he was wearing from above. The shawl was supposed to be a very difficult knot. I felt that the sheik was trying hard to remove it, to the extent that I said to him, "Well, do you want me to help you?" "No, no, no. Stay away. Don't get hurt. I'm protecting myself." Finally, he removed the knot and put the shawl next to the closet and repeated the same thing that happened. But suddenly, the electricity went out and I felt that my whole body was shaking. I didn't understand anything, but when the light came back, the world was completely quiet. Then the sheik came down to the floor and put his hand on the closet and read a few verses and then repeated the same thing that happened with the shawl. Finally, he put his hand on the floor and said to me, "Look, who is this girl? Ask him for the truth. This shawl belongs to my wife. Who is she? That's it. Ask for the truth from her and make sure that everything is based on the truth. If you get to her, all this will end." "I don't understand. Sheik, did she cast a spell on the shawl or what?" "I can't tell you anything, but go to your wife and ask her where she got it from and who she is. Ask her where she got it from and who she is. Ask her where she got it from and who she is. Listen to me, son. Now I have finished my turn and the rest is up to you. I don't know what to tell you. Don't say anything. May God keep your secret, son." I tried to convince him, but he refused. Then I took the shawl with me and put my hand on it and went to Noura's house. I didn't know how she looked, and when I knocked, she opened my door. It was clear that she didn't recognize me. "How are you?" "I'm fine, but what brought you here? We can't talk at the door like this. Can I come in?" Come in. I sat in the living room and couldn't look up. But finally, I dared to ask Noura. Is Noura okay? You still have eyes to ask about her? I don't know what to tell you. But believe me, she has an explanation for everything that happened. Wow, what kind of explanation is that, son? This is a good excuse. Can you hear me and call her and I will do whatever she wants? I don't think she will agree to meet you. Give me a good situation and try to convince her to meet me. She was quiet for a while and then she told me, okay, wait, I won't let you talk to her or see her. I'm sorry, everything will be fine. I can't help Noura, but it's a big deal and we have to understand it. After a while, Noura came back. She sat on the chair in front of me and I didn't know how I did that. The words didn't come out of me, but finally I encouraged her and told her, "Are you okay?" She didn't answer me, but then she came in so that I wouldn't be embarrassed. It's your right not to answer me, but tell me, where did you get this thing and what's behind it? She looked at me in amazement. Her eyes closed and she focused on it. This thing was a gift from my sister Alia. Yes, I mean, is it hers or did she buy it for you? No, it's hers and I liked it. But I didn't know how to get it, and before the party she gave me a gift. Really? So the truth is with Alia, not with you. What truth? I don't understand anything. I told her everything that happened from the beginning to the end. And after I told her, she said to me, "So all this had to happen for you to believe me and bring my sheik to see the reason for what we are in." I'm sorry, Noura. Put yourself in my shoes. Every day and the second, I see calamities because of the rooster, business and magic. And last of all, the woman who killed her daughter and said that this is a divine order. You have to understand my situation. I don't know what to tell you. I really can't find anything to say. Don't say anything except that you see me with Alia and don't tell her anything happened. And don't tell Mom anything until we see the truth. Okay, whatever you see. She went inside and then came back and said to me, she was with her friend and came back on the road. We were waiting for her and we were silent. As soon as she arrived and saw me, she panicked. She didn't say a word to Noura while she was with her friend. People don't come except by beating. And even the beating is obvious that he was surprised. I called her and she stood in the middle of the road and turned to me while she raised her veil. Alia, can I talk to you for a second? What? Isn't what I did enough for you? Do you want to continue with me or what? No, it's not like that. Come on, I want you to do something bigger than beating. Fine, I'm here. What do you want? Sit down, Alia. I want to talk to you for a while. It's not empty. Get up and tell me what you want. What's wrong with you, Alia? Your face is yellow and you look pale. Are you tired or what? Don't you have a call? Are you tired or not? Okay, I'm sorry I said that to you. But can you tell me what it is? She shook her hands and looked at Noura. It was obvious that she couldn't answer and was looking for something convincing to say. And after silence and hesitation, she finally said, "What do you mean? He removed it. Didn't you see it?" Yes, I saw it. I saw that he removed it, but I want to know the truth behind it. As soon as she heard this sentence, she fell from her height. We took her and ran with her to the hospital. Kotana, Noura and her mother were waiting for the doctor to take care of her. But when Hamed arrived, he was very agitated and grabbed me by my clothes and threw me on the floor. What? Stay away from my brothers. Didn't you do what you did to Noura? Are you going to continue with Alia? Hamed, you don't understand anything. Calm down. I don't want you to try to understand. Stay away from us. At that moment, the doctor left the room. When he came out, he looked at us and said, "Thank God. She didn't have it. It was just a little high pressure. We put her on a sedative and she'll be fine. Don't worry, she'll be fine. She and the fetus." We all told him in one breath. A fetus? What fetus? The doctor answered us and said, "Didn't you know she was pregnant? She's pregnant in the third. You have to take care of her more. These months are hard." At that moment, Hamed called the doctor and went to her. We left her alone and he hugged her and said, "Get out of here, Hamed." From where and from whom? How can she be pregnant in 3 months? Alia replied and said, "I tried to get rid of him as soon as I could, but my soul didn't like me and I was afraid to die or explode. That's why I was looking for a job outside of Egypt. Get out of here." Don't you dare tell me who the fetus is or the fetus in your belly, or I swear to God I'll kill you. He's not here. He's already dead. He's gone. Except that he didn't even want to admit it. What are you talking about? Tell me who it is and I'll get him under your shoes. This fetus has to be cured and fix his mistake. Can't, hamed. I can't, and that's why What are you? I killed him. Who did you kill, Alia? I killed Yasin. Yasin who? I'll tell you everything, but promise me you'll forgive me. And you and Hura and Mohammed, please forgive me. I'm your son-in-law. Speak and finish before I finish you. Yasin is with me at work. I liked him and I felt like he was replacing me with the same feelings. Until he saw Noura when she came to work a few times. Then he started asking me about her. I told him she was engaged and I tried to make him see me. And I really succeeded and he loved me. Or he was showing me that he loved me so he could get what he wanted. And after the love, we got married. And after 2 weeks, he started running away from me and not answering my calls. Even at work, he asked me to transfer him to the branch in his country. Yasin is originally from Cairo and he worked in the company branch in Alexandria for a while. And before your happiness, Noura, you knew I was pregnant. I called him and tried to make him understand what happened. But he went crazy when he found out that you were getting married. And he judged me for being cheap or easy. He told me a lot of things that hurt me. And because of that, I convinced him. Yes, I convinced him with the same thing they gave me as a gift when we got married. And not only did I convince him, I threw his body in the sea so that nothing would remain on me. I was afraid to get rid of the things that would reach me through him. And that's why I gave you her gifts. But I didn't know that he would be the reason for the ups and downs of your life. I tried to get rid of what was inside me and start my life anew and throw away what passed. But it was clear that everything had to be visible and revealed. After I said that, I pulled Hamid aside and told him, "Don't you realize that the same way Aliyah got rid of Yasin's body is almost the same way the body we found a while ago died?" Hamid closed his eyes and said to me, "Make a decision and watch Aliyah, Mohammed. She confesses to everything that happened." I confessed and I didn't realize that the case that had haunted us all this time was so close to us and we didn't see it. And a lot of things happened after that. Aliyah was arrested. Unfortunately, Hamad committed a mistake. Hamid resigned from his job while I was reconciled with Noura. As for Aliyah, she is still being tried. Her case hasn't been tried yet. That's all. I hope you liked the story. It's a long story and difficult events. At the same time, it made you doubt everything around you. At first, I thought that Mohammed was behind all this. I thought he was going to tell the whole story to get himself out of it. But I found out that it's a very strange story. I thank Olivert James for writing this episode. I thank you for being here.